Hey everyone, this is Kevin, your entrepreneur, and welcome to the Daily Rideshare, your daily source for the news in the rideshare industry. Although today's episode we will be focusing on one topic because it is a loaded topic, it is a loaded news story, and it's an important news story. It's actually way more important than the rates, believe it or not. I know it sounds hard to believe, but as you can see from this article, Competitive Enterprise Institute, the headline reads, Uber wants to make it illegal to operate your own self-driving car in cities. Now, before we get started, I know people are going to be writing below, so I'll get it out of the way. Yes, the headline is an oxymoron, because the whole point of self-driving cars is that you don't operate them. They operate themselves. But, misworded headline aside, this is actually something to be greatly concerned about. So, going down. Beleaguered ride-sourcing giant Uber has been criticized for a wide variety of sins, both real and imagined. But their biggest sin yet may be what they apparently want to do to the public in the future. Force everybody to use Uber service by outlawing private automobiles. I warned this might happen back in 2014. Uber has signed onto a document called Shared Mobility Principles for Sustainable Cities, which was prepared by short-term car rental company Zipcar and a who's who's of left-wing green pressure groups and the National Resource Defense Council, ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability, Smart Growth America's Transportation for America Advocacy Project, and the World Resources Institute, to name a few. Most of the principles are fact-free platitudes about livability, zero emissions, and sustainability, which is typical politician speak for increasing mass transit subsidies and painting bike lanes on city streets while neglecting maintenance. So they basically call for upholding the status quo in urban transportation politics. And to this motley progressive coalition's credit, the principal documents does endorse user fees, with road pricing being the only way to effectively mitigate traffic congestion. But where it really goes off the rails is with its final principle, and this is what we're going to be talking about. I know how the article sounds so far, and I agree. I would not use some of the wording he's used, but this is important. 10. We support that autonomous vehicles in dense urban areas should be operated only in shared fleets. Due to the transportational potential of autonomous vehicle technology, it is critical that all AVs are part of shared fleets, well-regulated and zero emission. Shared fleets can provide more affordable access to all, maximize public safety and emission benefits, ensure that maintenance and software upgrades are managed by professionals, and actualize the promise of reductions in vehicles, parking, and congestion in line with broader policy tends to reduce the use of personal cars in dense urban areas. Or, as it says, Uber, Lyft, Zipcar, and others propose outlawing personally owned self-driving cars in central cities, leaving the entire urban core market for automated road vehicles in the hands of corporate fleet owners. Yeah, so this does not surprise me, for the record. This does not surprise me, and it not only doesn't surprise me just because it seems like a very typical Uber and Lyft thing to do, but really this is kind of where technology is heading in general, and it freaks me out a little bit to a certain extent. I don't like how I'm now living in a world, like, for all the conveniences we have, let's put it this way. For all the conveniences we have, I see the trade-off that comes with that convenience. Oh, you have all of your music on the cloud? Well, I give Apple or Microsoft or Dropbox the rights to the cloud. If they decide I don't have access to that cloud anymore, they take my stuff down, and there's nothing I can do about it. When I have Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime, although I don't own Amazon Prime, I let them control not only what I can watch, but they can take it away, or they can alter the aspect ratio. You know, the new Xbox Games Pass? You can download all the games you want, but you don't own anything. They can get taken away. You know, the iPhone? We'll throttle the battery off the older models. So, really, America and companies in America have been trying to redefine the concept of ownership, which is something I am personally not in favor of. Like, my dad always raised me, you can work hard for what you want, and when you buy it, it's yours. He also indebted me with lessons like, don't rent for as long as you can, because renting is continuously putting money into something that you never ultimately own. And at the end, when you're done putting money into it, you have nothing to show for it. That's why I don't lease my cars. And while I am currently renting a house, I will be making plans very, very soon to not be renting anymore because, and I've got an itch all of a sudden, that, I need to own it because you can't retire in a house that you rent. But companies have been changing the concept of ownership. They say, oh, buy digital, it's convenient. Buy this digitally, it's convenient. Call an Uber, it's convenient. And some people might be saying, well, Kevin, your title says Uber's trying to destroy car ownership. How is this destroying car ownership if it's only on autonomous vehicles? Well, keep in mind, the only way autonomous vehicles work, truly fully work, is if every car is autonomous. You can't have a car with a driver there and have it work with the autonomous vehicles. They just don't work like that, and they never will. So, the first step, you get rid of all those pesky cars that people drive themselves. Then, you put the cars in the ownership of the companies. And then, you honestly think you're going to be paying 73 cents a mile? Nuh-uh. You're going to be paying like $5 a mile, maybe more. Seriously, when people ask me, why do you think taxi companies sucked? It's because the taxi companies had a monopoly. Taxi companies had a monopoly and there was no incentive to make their product any better than it was. What Uber is aiming for, and in all fairness, they've always been aiming for, they want monopolistic power. That's why Uber has taken the Amazon stance of, hey, we might be losing money, but as long as we're growing, that's a success. Because the more you grow, at some point, once you have everyone or once you have enough people, then you've got them caught. And I know this video, now that I talk more, sounds very conspiracy theorish. I admit that. But it wouldn't surprise me. Again, think about your own life and think about your own habits. With the exception of food, what do you own? A lot of people got rid of their cars. They just take Uber now. People, we got rid of Blockbuster, so I guess we just use Netflix. Heck, because of Netflix, we don't buy our discs. I read a very entertaining article, by the way, of a guy who wanted to watch Air Force One, found out none of the streaming services had it. So, it's just, the companies are getting brilliant. They're pushing, the more they push the digital age and on-demand and renting, the more they get people away from ownership. That's why, by the way, California, which who knows how long I'll be here, but they're headed for a reckoning. They're headed for another housing market crash because they're pushing everyone living here. They can't afford to buy, so they rent. And what happens in 30, 40, 50 years when all the millennials who are renting, they want to retire? Can't retire an apartment. Oh, and they don't own their car? I don't know what the future is going to hold, but yeah, it does not surprise me that Uber has made the goal to limit the self-driving cars to only the companies owning them. In all fairness, Ford and Lyft and General Motors are all trying to do it. It's not like Uber's the only one. And the reason this is ultimately Uber trying to kill car ownership is because, again, the only for autonomous vehicles to truly work is for all the cars to be autonomous. And they're lobbying very, very hard for the government to push America in that direction. So, by proposing early on, hey, autonomous vehicles can only be owned by the corporations, well, what happens when the government does, go to a metropolitan area or a suburban area or any area, really, and says, by the way, no one here can own an autonomous vehicle. Yep, you're dependent on Uber now. And they will take advantage of that. Trust me. But that's where we're going to end today's episode. What do you folks think? Do you think there's something to be concerned about? Are you excited about this? I would love to know. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy the videos I make, consider becoming a patron member for as little as $1 a month. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.